Well, I believe that you have to build belief. Belief is like, there's an after school special belief where the mom says, believe in yourself, and that's all great. But there's also a built belief. And the built belief is one where you are constantly, like for me, I came from a bad place. How I build belief is through the daunting tasks I put myself through. So that's proof positive that I can. So it correlates. And that's how this piece of kid I once thought I was built belief by saying, I was in 3 hell weeks. I went to Ranger School. I tried out for Delta selection. That is proof, motherfucker. So whenever you think you can't, confidence comes from the thing that you built. You must build belief. You must build confidence. It can't be like, hey, I'm gonna go knock that shit out. You gotta look over here and say, I can knock that shit out. It's belief, and it's built on what you put in to yourself. And one thing I was able to do was to dream. I was able to dream outside those 4 walls of that small town. And until you're able to really put yourself into that dream, but don't make dreams your master, that's where you truly become what you're destined to become. Your mind is still soft. It's hard for me to respect people who are able to come into that world and leave. This is a lifestyle, man. And people wonder, why am I not achieving more? And we wonder, why don't I have drive anymore? Where is it all at? If you don't develop a routine of suffering, not like go out and kill yourself every day, it's being uncomfortable. That keeps you hungry every day. If you live in your victories for so long and say, I'm going to go challenge myself for 30 days or for 2 weeks or this one marathon, it ends. I did 1 marathon. That's why it leaves you. It leaves you because you haven't set up the next obstacle. Obstacles are how you grow. You must continue to have friction. Friction is where growth is at no friction. There's no growth. These people go to the gym. They get big, they get jacked, they can run fast, all that. But the only thing they're doing is you're coding over. The mind, all you're doing is building a bigger, stronger quitter. Your mind hasn't gotten any stronger because you haven't gone back in there and dealt with it. So the second adversity comes like, my God, I'm so getting fit. What's wrong? Your mind is still soft. You cannot live in that normal mindset. You must be your best on your worst day. And how you do that is you cannot think of a normal mindset. Can I have a normal mindset? And I'll never forget. I found such peace and beauty, and I got there. I was the worst pain in my life. And I got down, and my ex-wife pulled the car up on this little lawn. And I got in the back of it, and I got up the stairs. I'm not going to go through the whole story, but I remember laying in the tub, and she put the shower on me, and I ran 101 miles in like 19 hours. And I was like peeing dirt out of me, and I'm sitting there, and I'm jackhammering, and my body is just the most broken it's ever been, even to this day. And this feeling came over me, call it crazy if you want, but very few people, I guarantee you've ever felt this before, to push themselves so far outside of what they thought was even possible. Even for me, I laid in that tub and I didn't want it to go away. I had drained myself of every bit of strength, energy I had. It was the best feeling I had in my life. All that pain. It was confirmation that I had gone through a crucible and I had figured out another level of David Goggins. A level that I thought was humanly impossible for anybody to do. I want you to learn that the only way you grow is how to look at yourself and say, okay, like I did. Table longer than this. What the I have to do to get some? There was nothing good on there. Nothing. Yeah, I love playing basketball. I left that out. That's something I love to do. I don't care about that. That didn't make the fucking list. Because the list that I had to live by was the very list that was to get me at this table with you. To talk to you, to the normal human beings which I once was, about how you can get somewhere and how it looks. It looks very ugly. There's no fucking passion. There's no fucking motivation. There's no, oh my God, man, no. It's every day of your life just doing. No passion, no discipline, no motivation. All these words, I hate that so many people use these words now because it's watered. It's someone sitting in a room by themselves and they figure themselves out and say, God, this is gonna fucking suck. Where's passion when you're 300 pounds? Where's the motivation when you can't read and write? Where is it? So how did this happen? I just fucking did. I just did. I said, maybe at the end of this journey, there'll be something there for me. If not, I can read. If not, I'm 180 fucking pounds. There's no magic potion. There's no, let me wake up and look at some, no. All those words are overused. They're bullshit. It's all bullshit. Just do. You're living. How do you want to live? How do you want to die? How do you want to fucking be remembered? That's it. That's it. Period. I'm always preparing myself, not in a morbid way, but just like, look, man, be ready for life. Don't let life just start attacking you left and right. Make sure that you start to build a mental armor so then you're ready for life. And that comes with a very physical way, and the physical helps out the mental. I know how it feels to be approaching an energetic dead end. I've been there too many times to count. I understand the temptation to sell short, but I also know that impulse is driven by your mind's desire for comfort, and it's not telling you the truth. It's your identity trying to find sanctuary, not help you grow. It's looking for status quo, not reaching for greatness or seeking wholeness. But the software update that you need to shut your governor down is no supersonic download. It takes 20 years to gain 20 years of experience. And the only way to move beyond your 40% is to callous your mind day after day, which means you will have to chase pain like it's your damn job. Imagine you're a boxer and on your first day in the ring, you take one on your chin. It's gonna hurt like fucking hell, but at year 10 being a boxer, you won't be stopped by one punch. You'll be able to absorb 12 rounds of getting beat the fuck down and come back the very next day and fight again. It's not that the punch has lost power. Your opponents will be even stronger. The change has happened within your brain. You've calloused your mind. Over a period of time, your tolerance for mental and physical suffering will have expanded because your software will have learned that you can take a hell of a lot more than one punch. And if you stay with any task that is trying to beat you down, you will reap rewards. Not a fighter. Say you like to run but have a broken pinky toe. I'll bet if you continue running on it, pretty soon you'll be able to run on broken legs. Sounds impossible, right? I know it's true because I've run on broken legs, and that knowledge helped me endure all manner of agonies on the ultra circuit, which has revealed a clear spring of self-confidence that I drink from whenever my tank is dry. But nobody taps their reserve 60% right away or all at once. The first step is to remember that your initial blast of pain and fatigue is your governor talking. Once you do that, you are in control of the dialogue in your mind, and you can remind yourself that you are not as drained as you think, that you haven't given it your all, not even close. Buying into that will keep you in the fight, and that's worth an extra 5%. Of course, that's easier read than done. It wasn't easy to begin the fourth lap of the Hurt 100 because I knew how much it would hurt. And when you are feeling dead and buried, dehydrated, wrung out, and torn the fuck up at 40%, finding that extra 60% feels impossible. I didn't want my suffering to continue. Nobody does. That's why the line fatigue makes cowards of us all is true as shit. Mind you, I didn't know anything about the 40 rule that day. The Hurt 100 is when I first started to contemplate it, but I had hit the wall many times before, and I had learned to stay present and open-minded enough to recalibrate my goals, even at my lowest. I knew that staying in the fight is always the hardest and most rewarding first step. Of course, it's easy to be open-minded when you leave yoga class and are taking a stroll by the beach, but when you're suffering, keeping an open mind is hard work. The same is true if you're facing a daunting challenge on the job or at school. Maybe you're tackling a 100-question test and know that you've bricked the first 50. At that point, it's extremely difficult to maintain the necessary discipline to force yourself to keep taking the test seriously. It's also imperative that you find it, because in every failure there is something to be gained, even if it's only practice for the next test you'll have to take. Because that next test is coming. That's a guarantee. First big problem is that you have put a lot of people above you. Put no one above you. Yeah. No one. I put God above me. Besides that, there's no one better than me. If you're playing Roger Federer, before you get on the court with Roger Federer, he's the best of all time, but you're also a professional tennis player, man. You're forgetting your own fucking resume. So once you get on the court, let's say it's a grand slam. It's 5 sets, hopefully, if you can go the distance with this guy. But before you even bounce the ball to serve it, you're down 2 sets, because while you look across and you're playing Roger Federer. But guess what? You hit a good shot on Roger Federer in the 3rd set, and you realize, I can play with this motherfucker. But it's too late. You gave up 2 sets before you got on the court. You gotta stop giving up 2 sets before the game begins. And we do that already. We give up 2 sets before the game begins. So I learned that real quick. I saw these Navy SEALs before I became one. My God, they're better than me. Yeah. They're better than me. I gave up 100 sets. And I had to work up to realize these are human beings with the same shit I have. Yeah, there's some people who run faster, swim better, but mentality is mentality. There's no, you're not gonna outwork me, so I'm gonna catch up somewhere. Yep. So that being said, I used all that 300-pound man, that fat guy, that dumb guy. And people say, why you say dumb? You have to be real with yourself. If you're not smart, you're fucking dumb, but you can become smart. You can become smart. It's not a permanent tag. You're dumb forever. You're fat forever. No, be raw. Don't find the cushy word. So what I did with all this stuff is I realized, okay, here it is. This is what you are, David. But now check this out. I sat back and I was like, my God, I'm able to visualize years beyond where I'm at right now. How are you going to feel if you can pull this off? And I got the idea to become a Navy SEAL. At 300 pounds, hate the water, can't run down the fucking block, horrible. And I put everything on that. My whole life was, I'm gonna be a Navy SEAL, come hell or high water. Who does that? You gotta commit to it. You gotta put everything on yourself. You gotta sit back and be able to imagine where you wanna be and be like, that's the power. If I can pull this off, what kind of story have I just created? So we get scarred. And the thing about it is, like, if you were in the kitchen and you're cutting up cucumbers, you cut your finger. It happened 30 years ago. That scar is still there. They say, what happened to your finger? Guess what you do? I was in the kitchen one day, I was cutting up cucumbers, cut my finger. You have those scars in your fucking brain from life. We try to hide those scars. We don't want to go back and revisit it. This is not as simple as cutting a cucumber. So I started realizing that my life was causing a whole bunch of scarring on my brain. And I had to go back and really break open that scar and let it bleed. But a lot of us have scars in our brains about f***ed up lives, bad childhoods, bad adulthood, whatever the f*** you're going through. Those scars in your brain we don't talk about, we hide. Scarring is proof that our past is real. But the one thing we do is we allow it to control our lives. And we get off the log. Well, it's time to get back on the log and not have those scars define the rest of your f***ing life. Sometimes you gotta fight pain with pain. Stay hard. When I was a young kid, I considered myself very weak. Very weak. And as I started developing this indestructible mental toolbox, because what I realized was the things I was most afraid of, I cowered from. I had to start facing these things and becoming an expert at the things I feared the most. I was afraid of my own mind. My mind would get off on these crazy places of woe is me. My internal conversation wasn't great. So I had to start mastering it. Once I started mastering it, in the horrible place I was at, I consider myself the worst person ever alive. That was my conversation. But once I started mastering my own life, I started realizing, my God, man, this was in me. I was a 300-pound fat guy. Now I'm 181 pounds, 190 pounds, whatever it was. I'm gonna go through all these hell weeks. So I started realizing the capabilities of the human soul and the human mind. A lot of people ask me, how the hell do you gain mental toughness? Well,
how you gain mental toughness, only way to do it is to do things that don't make you feel good and do things that you might fail at. When you fail at something or you don't do your best, that's how you gain mental toughness, by getting back in the fight, not stopping. Stay hard.
So I call it in my book here, it's called the accountability mirror, but it's called raw accountability.
Yeah.
Not just accountability where we find that nice happy word. If you're fat and you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I eat a little too much. No, you're f***ing fat. You have to make a list of the things that you don't like to do. This list should be very long. Like if you don't like making calls, the very first thing you should do is start making a shit ton of f***ing calls. Because why? That begins to own you. You start to drive yourself this way versus this way. But you'll figure out, if you start making a whole bunch of f***ing calls, if you like calling, call a lot. Guess what happens?
You get over it.
You get over it. So what we do a lot is, I heard a lot of people say, triple down on this, triple down on most of your strength.
Yeah.
No. That works for a lot of things, but when you're afraid and you don't have the courage, you have to triple down on your weaknesses and make that become where you start to guide yourself. Okay, I don't like calling. Today I'm making 100 calls. I'm gonna dial 100 times. What happens is, when I was younger, life and society made this big world with all these endless fucking possibilities.
Yep.
Endless possibilities. My life made my possibilities this fucking big.
Yep.
Because it made me afraid of all these different things.
Yeah.
So all this stuff trapped my mind, it shackled my brain, it made me a prisoner within my own self, saying, this is all I can do. Because why? I'm afraid of this, I'm insecure over here, I got self-doubt over here, that behind me, good Lord, who knows what's behind me? I'm not gonna look behind me. So your life is this big. Versus it being like, I can do all this shit out here if I start to break down these these different walls and barriers. And that's what I started realizing. I could become a Navy SEAL. I could become this, but I was afraid of the water. Think about this. Why the f are you gonna go be a Navy SEAL when all you do is play in the water?
Yeah.
And we don't play, we're in it and we're living in it. The ocean is unforgiving.
Yep.
So my mind is, I'm gonna go be a Navy SEAL. If I didn't face that fear, no one would ever know me. I was number 3 behind Michelle Obama for a long time until my book sold out.
Yeah.
And I was a guy just 21 years ago who was 300 pounds, could barely read and write, and now I have a book just 2 spots behind Michelle Obama, just because I was afraid. But you overcome those fears, guess what happens? The whole world, you unlock this door and everything opens back up again. I work with a guy who's in a business like this for 5 years. I'm not gonna mention his name.
Yeah.
He called me up 5 years ago and said, I want you to work with me.
Yeah.
His job, a big day for them was if you had 5 meetings and 40 calls, $40, that was like, according to their big business plan, that was a day. He said, I wanna make more money. All this shit's just it's bogging me down. I said, this is your f***ing day? 5 meetings and 40 f***ing calls? And this company you work for says that this is a great day? This is what we want? I had this guy, no shit. One day, he made 1,000 cold calls and had 7 f***ing meetings.
Yeah.
So his new norm, which is now the company, like how'd you become? He made 100,000, went to making $600,000 in 3 years.
Yeah.
That's the jump he had. Just because his mindset changed, because the company put this shit. This is what is a good day. A good day is 40 calls, 5 meetings. I said, that's a fucking bullshit day because you're comparing yourself with mediocre people. Yeah. Do not run with mediocre people. I'm gonna tell you how to beat these mediocre people. This is your new 300 dials and 8 fucking meetings.
Yeah.
And his whole world changed. Now 300, just another day.
It's a Tuesday.
So it's just the mindset change where don't look at something, like for instance in Hell Week. You're talking about 130 hours of training. It starts on Sunday, ends on Friday, and on Wednesday, you're almost done, you're halfway through. They said when you get to Wednesday of Hell Week, you're broken. So everybody on Wednesday, they hear this, because everybody says Wednesday is like, man, you're so tired, you're done. So that becomes your new norm. No, because someone told you you could feel tired.
Bingo.
So for me, I was like, hang on a second. I started studying my mind a whole bunch while growing up, facing these things. Don't listen to anybody's fucking dialogue but your own. They're tired, they're not you.